Hello, hello, and welcome. I'm Mehran Khalili. We are DM25, a radical political movement for Europe. And in this video, we're going to look at how Germany is choking pro-Palestine protest and how other European governments are taking notes. We'll take you on a tour of some of Germany's greatest hits of repression. We'll look at how the system works, why it matters beyond Palestine, and what we can learn through 3 first-hand stories of people we've interviewed. This is Berlin, August 2025. Another protest, another video of a cop swinging for someone's face. This time, it's an Irish activist, Kitty O'Brien, punched twice, their nose broken, their arm snapped. So brutally that now it's being held together by 11 screws. Berlin police say they're investigating their officer for doing this. Well, that's nice. But let's zoom out. Since October 2023, pro-Palestine activism has done exactly what movements should do. Demand basic rights for Palestinians, an end to Israel's slaughter, and accountability for the bastards making it happen. Some of the biggest street mobilizations in years followed. London saw crowds in the hundreds of thousands. And even in Israel itself, mass protests have called for a ceasefire and a hostage deal. But in Germany, the state's response to Palestine solidarity has been creative. The country's national guilt complex over the Holocaust has pushed it to crazy extremes, spying on organizers, backing whatever Israel does as its second largest arms dealer. At home, Germany represses. Abroad, it's complicit. Take what happened in April 2024, when police shut down the Palestine Congress, closing off the live stream, cutting the power, and then slapping a ban on Yanis Varoufakis, who was due to speak at the event, even from attending it over Zoom. This isn't random heavy-handedness. It's a method, and it travels. France has tried blanket bans on protests. Dutch police have cleared encampments with batons. Germany isn't alone, and on some days it isn't even the worst, but it is distinctive for the mix of tools that it uses. Police, courts, finance, sanctions. It's becoming a template. So let me show you how this playbook works. Through 3 stories of people that Germany tried to silence: Melanie, Iris, and Hüseyin, and why this matters far beyond Palestine. And, of course, we'll end with what you can do next. Let's start with Melanie. She was a civil servant, a lawyer in Germany's Federal Ministry of Labour, until December 2024, when she posted on her social media that Germany was backing a genocide and breaking its own laws. The right-wing tabloid Bild splashed her story over its pages, accusing her of being anti-Semitic, and the ministry quickly got rid of her.
I was surprised, then shocked probably, and then disappointed, then also empowered. I was posting my opinion about the situation in Israel and Palestine, that there is a genocide happening, and that it is, in my opinion, at this very moment, Israel is a genocidal apartheid state, and that is our duty to speak up and to do everything in our power to stop this, basically, what is happening. It's very unusual what is going on for me as well. I've never experienced something like that personally. However, I've heard many stories like that. I'm not an exception. This is the normal in Germany right now. It's been going on for at least the last 14 months, but also I would say longer in the specific field. In Germany, it's especially harsh, the tone. You are either pro-Israel or you're pro-Palestinian, but it's about pro-human.
Melanie was dismissed and branded, not for breaking any law, but for stepping out of line. Today, she's out of her job, but still campaigning vigorously for Palestine. The lesson from Melanie's case is that in Germany, you don't need to commit a crime to be punished. You just need to post the wrong opinion, and then the machinery of the state will do the rest. Now let's look at Iris. She's an Israeli Jew, a psychoanalyst, and a board member of Jewish Voices for a Just Peace. In 2023, she was detained in Berlin, where she lives, for holding up a sign. What did it say? As a Jew and as an Israeli, stop the genocide in Gaza. Later, in July 2025, the University of Bremen cancelled her lecture because she was a member of a Jewish peace group. And that's where she is now, still speaking out and still getting cancelled.
The security of Israel is part of Germany's Staatsräson. That means the reason of the state in Germany. In Berlin, there is the biggest Palestinian community in the diaspora in Europe, and they were really oppressed. I mean, it looked like pictures that I know from the West Bank, where policemen are arresting children, for example, hitting Palestinians or not even Palestinians. Anyone who wore a kafia was suspected to be a terrorist. Yeah, so it is declared as war on terror, and under that you can do everything. I decided to stand there. I wanted to show that not all Jews think the same, like the German government would like to portray. And I wanted to do it also in Neukölln, in order also to see for myself how is it. But I wasn't able. The policeman came directly to me, and they told me that it's forbidden to do what I'm doing. I started to argue with them. I told them how the Constitution is. All the time, people came and started to photograph all that, and I was insisting on my right. Of course, I know I'm privileged. I'm Israeli. I'm a Jew. I'm a woman. I'm an old woman with white hair. If I would be a young Arab-looking male, I would be beaten. And people standing to me, young Arabic-looking men who stood next to me, were beaten if they had the kafia or a Palestinian flag. So at some point they saw that I was insisting on that, so they took me in custody to the police car. They took also my ID. They told me that it's forbidden to have pro-Palestinian demonstrations there. So I told them that it's a pro-Israeli one. My family lives there. I think it's the end of Israel also now, actually, because Israel is maneuvering itself to a dead end. And I'm worried also about my family, my friends who live there. I see how fascist the state of Israel is becoming under this war on terror.
You see, when even Jewish critics of Israel are branded a danger, you create a permission structure. And once that structure exists, it scales. Which takes us to Hüseyin. Hüseyin is a Berlin-based journalist, and in May 2025, the EU sanctioned him without a court, without a trial. What does this mean? Well, in one swoop, they froze his bank accounts, so he can't buy anything, he can't be paid for anything. They also banned him from traveling. Just hold that thought for a second. The EU turned one of its own citizens into a non-person, just like that. So what was their reason for doing this? You guessed it. Hüseyin reported on Germany's repression of Palestine activism and criticized Israel's actions online. Later, he published the EU's evidence against him, which they were forced to release to him because his lawyers wrote to them. One of the tweets they cite is simply Hüseyin saying that the German media are ignoring his case.
I'm sanctioned, I'm on that list, but they also technically sanctioned my wife and our unborn twins. How? Because they froze all the accounts. She's not allowed to receive her salary right now. So in this moment, we technically have no money that we can access to go and buy something. In reverse, there is also the problem because a lot of activists, journalists, colleagues, politicians, and family members even said, should we send you money? We said, don't do that. Don't do that, because you would be maybe categorized as avoiding sanctions. And this is the problem here. Sanction is, as the European Union describes on their website, a tool which is aligned with humanitarian law, which is not deemed to punish, but rather to change your behavior. I mean, the humanitarian aspect, we can debate on that if they want, but for me, that looks completely different. To change behavior, what kind of behavior do they want to change? My behavior to use my rights as a citizen of Europe or of world to express my opinion on certain events. Also the rights kind of to survive, because all my existential grounds are taken away from me. Someone in a prison has technically right now more rights than I have, because they can, in custody, buy something which I can't even. Because I need for everything, maybe a permission, maybe not. If they allow it or not, I don't know. It is technically a message to all European citizens in case you dare to criticize me in the future. This is what is going to happen as well.
So this is the model. Administrative punishment under the guise of safety for speech that the state dislikes. And as I'm recording in September 2025, Hüseyin's accounts are still frozen, he's still sanctioned, and the EU have rejected his lawyer's request to reconsider. Okay, so put these three cases together and you start to see a pattern emerging in Germany. At the street level, police use overwhelming force against Palestine solidarity, like the case of Kitty O'Brien that we saw earlier, the repeated crackdowns on protest in summer 2025, and months of heavy-handed policing since 2023. Then, at the institutional level, they use bans and cancellations, like shutting down the Palestine Congress, banning our own Yanis Varoufakis from speaking, cancellations at universities and cultural events, and Jewish organizations being financially squeezed, their bank accounts frozen. Lastly, at the administrative, legal level, where we've seen deportations and sanctions against dissenters, restrictions on slogans and protest permits, and now, as in the case of Hüseyin, an EU-level mechanism that can be used against any citizen without any court at all. Amnesty International calls this a sweeping pattern in Europe. Stigmatization, criminalization, and disproportionate force against peaceful protest. Germany is leading it and exporting it. Typically, it's sold to the public as fighting hate or maintaining order, but in reality, it's just stifling dissent. It's simple authoritarianism to shield Israel from accountability and to protect the politicians, the arms dealers, and the institutions in Germany that bankroll and enable it. And now this repression is being aimed at Jewish critics of Israel and journalists too. That's why Germany matters. Not because it's the worst, but because it's the template. If you live in Germany, or anywhere in the EU, this isn't someone else's problem, even if Palestine isn't your cause. The same tools used against Melanie, against Iris, against Hüseyin, they could be used against climate activism, against unions, against anyone outside the line. So what can we do about all this? Well, first, if you know anyone who thinks that these actions taken by the German state are actually about keeping public order or fighting hate speech, share this video with them. Second, help the targets. Support any legal defenses or campaigns that push back against extrajudicial repression. Third, organize. The other side is well coordinated. They've got police, ministries, the media. We need to be more so. Lastly, document everything. If you're at a protest, film it. If that video hadn't been taken of Kitty O'Brien getting punched, we might be thinking something quite different about it. If you do face any repression, save the paperwork and publish it. Evidence really, really matters. And if you've got any primary footage of repression in Germany or you've faced it yourself, please let us know and we'll act on it. And finally, remember, what happens in Germany doesn't stay in Germany. Once any state learns that dissent can be crushed in this way, it can turn those tools on anyone. That's why it's on us to push back.